Hi guys, welcome to Office Blokes React. I'm Office Bloke Dave.
I'm Office Bloke Dance.
Together we are the Office Blokes.
Yep.
It's a true factual statement. Mike, you're looking very Mexican today.
Yariba.
Yeah, it's a bit of cultural appropriation from Mike there.
On peso 50.
Yeah, Mike is having a couple of days off. He will be back very soon, though, don't worry. He's safe. We feed him and water him once a day, don't we?
Yeah.
And, you know, that
He's
is
just in quarantine at the moment.
Yeah, can't tell you what for. Anyway, we did a little competition for this hat, and all you had to do was go to our Why You Gay reaction and type 1 million, and we have a winner. Our winner is Nolan Warnock. So Nolan, get in touch with us, drop us an email at officeblokesreact@gmail.com, and then we will tell you how to proceed proving who you actually are, and then giving us your address. So there you go. The next one that we're going to try and get to 1 million is the WAP read-through, where you can win this bright orange polo shirt, OB polo shirt. That camera does not do it justice, just how orange that actually is.
Yeah, it's orange. It's more orange than your hair, Dave.
Absolutely, without a doubt. So all you've got to do is go to our WAP lyric read-through, and you've got to comment Mike's WAP, and you've got to make sure you're subscribed as well. That is
Mike's
it.
WAP.
Mike's WAP. There you go. Right then, the 5 biggest convict explosions of all time.
Mike could be on here.
I feel like he'd come in like chained up. You know, ate the liver with a nice Chianti and some fava beans. That sort of vibe.
Hannibal Lecter.
Yeah, I don't think he'd lose it. Let's get into it.
He does look a bit like
he does a little bit.
Hannibal guy, doesn't he? Welsh guy.
I can't remember his name for the life of me. Anyway, let's do it. The 5 biggest convict explosions of all time.
Well, guess what?
Man. I didn't do anything wrong, man.
Yeah, Anthony Hopkins.
I just about heard the Anthony Hopkins there.
Anthony Hopkins.
This is Ricky Hand, who is facing charges for multiple armed robberies in Ohio.
You call yourself Dick, wouldn't you?
Yeah, Dick Hand. That's what I'm laughing at. You can't miss that opportunity.
You just keep referring to him as Dick, wouldn't you? So Dick, let us know.
They call me Dick. Dick Hand.
Dick Hand.
Ricky was charged with aggravated robbery, attempted safecracking, abduction, breaking and entering.
Give me 40 years, sir.
Ricky had been on a robbing spree for years, and he was most likely getting confident in his ability. However, his romance with robbing quickly turned sour the night he tried to rob John's drive-thru in Springfield, Ohio. In the footage here, we can find the owner of the shop beginning to close down for the night. However, Ricky Hand had other plans. As Ricky begins to make his way to the door, he's greeted by the owner, who is armed and begins firing to scare Ricky off. The owner then called the police to inform them that there had just been an attempted robbery at the shop, which resulted in a man getting shot.
911 emergency.
Yeah, this is John's drive-thru, West Main Street. A guy just tried to rob me and I shot him. He ran out the back door.
Okay, is he injured?
I think I hit him.
Well, as it turns out, he did in fact hit him.
So, like, he's annoyed that he's had to do that.
It just sounded that way, didn't he? Pissed off.
Oh, fuck's sake.
He runs like he's got his dick in his hand.
I know.
It's a proper dodgy run, that, wasn't it? Yeah.
He was like,
how did he get away?
Because only 2 days later, a man admitted himself to the nearby hospital to treat bullet wounds. It didn't take long for police to piece together that this was most likely the robber they were looking for. Arrests were made at the hospital, and Ricky was questioned that night.
Tried to rob John's drive-thru. Got shot 3 times. I did the crime. I ain't gonna lie. I just wanted to live.
If you thought the crimes were horrendous enough, wait until you see how Ricky reacted after being sentenced. As the judge drops the bombshell and hands Ricky a 40-year sentence, the man's mind seems to short-circuit. As if to confirm what he heard, he asked the judge if that was his sentence.
Did you just give me 40 years?
See, that, for me, like 40 years, I'd go with that. It's the sentence in the USA is way better than what we get over here for crime. Some guy yesterday killed a kid, 9-year-old kid, tortured him for months, and ended up killing him. 32 years.
Wasn't it? I think I half heard something on the radio about that. Wasn't it a couple?
It was a couple,
and they got a combined certain
He got
term.
32 years
He got
on his
32.
own. Minimum 32.
That's like game over, mate. You know, you do something like that, that's you're done.
Yeah, but like I say, he's just done an armed robbery. Got 40 years. Guy murders a kid.
Was he
32
armed?
years over here. Hold on. He said he'd done armed robbery
Because-
though, in the
yeah.
he had a list of convictions, didn't he?
But that's the thing, I think, because he's got previous as well. If he was just some chancer without a weapon that went in and went, give me your money, I'd say 40 years is
Yeah,
harsh.
this guy's a career criminal.
A career criminal, armed robberies, everything like that. That's absolutely the right sentence for that crime.
I agree.
Yeah.
Sir? Yes.
Nobody expected that Ricky had a surprise up his sleeve, or rather, in his arm sling.
Closely. Hand reaches into his arm sling and pulls out some cloth that was hiding a small bottle.
This genius had hidden pill bottles filled with his own feces and urine right under his arm the whole time. In the blink of an eye, Ricky whips out those bottles of nastiness and throws them at his defense lawyer. The lawyer got a taste of some foul-smelling justice, and the courtroom went into complete chaos. I guess Ricky wanted to make sure he left a lasting impression in that courtroom, and boy, did he succeed.
You just gave him 40 years. Well, guess what?
Give him 5 more for that.
I'll give him another 40, yeah.
She's definitely
Unlike in
filming.
comedy movies, Ricky's actions have real-life consequences. Ricky is now facing additional charges. That's right, 5 counts of harassment with bodily substances, 1 count for his lawyer, and the other 4 for the poor deputies who got caught in the crossfire. However disgusting you thought Ricky's explosion was, this wasn't the only time a criminal...
One of the
He's got
deputies.
another 40 years. 80 years now, mate.
One of the deputies should have stubbed his toe as well, and then done him for in his toe. Just everything on him.
Just grab him by the arm in a sling.
Yeah,
Where his bullet
right
wounds
up behind
were.
his back.
Yeah.
Jesus. I mean, you're going to be a career criminal. You're going to upset a lot of people, potentially hurt a lot of people. You've got to be willing to deal with the consequences.
That's the part of the punishment, isn't it? You got to do the time.
He looked like he was possibly in his 40s already. Do you reckon?
Yeah, probably.
So yeah, it is a death sentence for him.
Good.
had an obscene outburst in court. There's the case of Shondell Jackson. This is Shondell Jackson, who is facing charges for murder in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. In 2010, a 19-year-old named Shondell Jackson attempted to rob Nathan Potter, a 21-year-old student at the University of Wisconsin, Milwaukee, who was returning to his apartment. Unfortunately for them, Potter wasn't carrying any cash. But instead of just walking away and chalking it up as a failed robbery, Jackson shot Potter, tragically ending his young life.
What the fuck?
Now, you'd expect someone convicted of first-degree intentional homicide and robbery to feel some iota of remorse, right? Well, not Jackson. Throughout the trial, he showed zero remorse and even had the audacity to smirk at Potter's family. Smirking in the face of such a heart-wrenching tragedy, it's enough to make your blood boil.
Looking at us, swearing at us, and smiling.
Nathan's father gave a very emotional victim impact statement during the trial. He asked for the maximum sentence and called Jackson's crimes pure evil.
Nothing that can be said to bring back our Nathan. But your sentence can ensure that Shondell does not have the opportunity as a free man to inflict pain like this again.
Things took a wild turn when the judge finally dropped the hammer and sentenced Jackson to life in prison with no chance of parole. Jackson's anger boiled over, and he unleashed a storm of curses at the judge and court officers. The scene quickly descended into chaos as court officers had to jump in, tackling Jackson, and even resorting to pepper spraying him to bring him under control. But the madness didn't end there. Sitting in the back of the courtroom, Jackson's family couldn't resist chiming in. They decided to insult Potter's mother, spewing hatred as if she was responsible for Jackson's heinous crime and sentence. The behavior was very puzzling both for the victim's family and onlookers.
There is some redemption for him at some point, but that's totally up to him. And for his family to say to us, "We hate you," what's that all about? We didn't do a thing to him.
Shondell Jackson didn't seem to think that his crimes required life imprisonment, which...
If I would have been sat there and had been the parents of and the other family would have gone, "We hate you," I'd have gone right back at them and gone, "Yeah, we hate him too." I could see why you hate him. Get right in the face.
Yeah.
Just turn it round.
It's the family, with the wailing really loud and things like that when he's being sentenced. I'm like, That's so inappropriate. I know you're upset because essentially you're losing a son as well, or a brother, or a nephew, or a cousin, or whatever. But have a little bit of class and think about the family who've lost an innocent kid. You know, it's not about you and him and anyone else there. There's people genuinely suffering there that have done nothing wrong.
Yeah, arsehole.
I mean, nothing to bring it back, but I'm not sure I could sit in a courtroom with someone who'd done something like that to my kid or
it'd be
family
tough.
member.
I
think I'd need restraining.
Especially some guy smirking and talking shite halfway through it.
Yeah, it'd be worth doing a couple of years in prison to dive over and, give him a little dig.
I know.
Led to the outburst. However, he wasn't the only convict who thought they deserved lesser sentences. There was Manson Bryant, who is facing charges for multiple crimes, including robbery and abduction in Ohio.
Court determines that you have or will have the ability to pay restitution.
A familiar face in Judge Lucci's courtroom, Bryant, at 32 years old, has quite the rap sheet, dating back to his juvenile days. He's been in and out of prison multiple times, with at least 8 of his cases landing on Judge Lucci's desk. Talk about a regular customer. So, in his most recent case, Bryant was found guilty of some serious charges.
The verdict was guilty in count 1, aggravated burglary, felony 1, guilty in count 2, aggravated burglary, felony 1, guilty in count 3, aggravated robbery, felony 1, guilty in count 4, felony 1, guilty in count 5, abduction, felony 3, and guilty in count 7, which I renumbered for the jury as count 6.
If you think his crimes were bad, brace yourself for his behavior in court. Bryant's day of reckoning arrived as he stood before Judge Lucci for his sentencing. Initially, Bryant appeared to accept his fate, admitting to a lifetime of bad decisions and expressing respect for the judge's decision.
I made a lifetime of bad decisions.
But brace yourselves, folks, because the respect didn't last long. When Judge Lucci handed down a 22-year sentence, Bryant's true colors poured out in a profanity-laced tirade that echoed through the courtroom. He unleashed a barrage of expletives, accusing the judge of racism and disrespecting his courtroom. But here's where things took an unexpected turn.
The ability to pay restitution.
Fuck your courtroom, you racist ass bitch! Fuck your courtroom, man! You racist as fuck!
Judge Lucci initially considered Bryant's remorse and attempted to be fair, but he changed his mind due to the outburst. Watch as Judge Lucci tries to get his words out between Manson's outburst.
Wait a minute. When I said that you had a certain amount of remorse, I was mistaken. So it's 28 years with credit 31 days.
Judge tacked on an additional 6 years to the sentence, making it 28 years behind bars, but Bryant's defiance continued. He hurled insults even as court deputies led him away.
I don't want to hear it, man! Let me out! Let me out!
About 3 minutes after the incident, Judge Lucci can be heard laughing about the moments that just transpired.
He seemed so calm and cool and civil until the sentence.
According to Judge Lucci, this wasn't the first time Bryant had shown such disrespect. Eventually, the additional 6 years was struck out by a superior court.
Nah, bollocks.
Yeah.
It'd be better if he just sort of like started yelling like, and he went 32 years. 36 years.
500 years. Yeah, I think I've seen a few of these sort of clips where a judge has done that. You know, upon sentencing, they were going to be medium level of leniency, not the full sentence. Then they give them the full sentence. It usually does get overturned. Obviously, in prison, you've got nothing better to do than appeal and do all that sort of stuff. And you can say that the judge based...
Even 22 years is a lot. Don't know.
Yeah.
It's a long time.
It really is.
Long time to sort of like sit and reminisce about your mistakes you've made.
He's committed a lot of crimes there, a lot of felonies as well.
It wasn't on the record, but the last time, as he was walking out of the court, he said, "Suck my dick, Judge."
Bryant's outburst may have been uncalled for. However, some cases are so heart-rending that outbursts might be overlooked, like the case of Dexter Johnson, who is facing charges for murder in Houston. This tragic story began when Johnson and 4 others carjacked Maria Aparici and Hoi Ngo, her boyfriend, in 2006. The gang held the couple at gunpoint while they took their belongings, then drove them around Houston. Johnson and his accomplice, Keithron Fields, subjected them to a nightmarish ordeal of torture and humiliation. Police reported that Maria Aparici and her boyfriend were shot in the head and left in the woods.
Jesus.
It took 5 days before their bodies were discovered. Now in a Harris County courtroom, 19-year-old Dexter Johnson faced his punishment for the crimes he committed.
19.
Though Dexter...
Where did it say it was in? Did it say it was in Texas? Houston. That's death, isn't it? They've got a death penalty in Texas. I think capital murder is either life without parole or death.
19 and your life's done, finished through something you did that just being a dick.
Yeah, and what, trying to rob someone? How long would it take for you to earn whatever you got from them, or buy the car that you stole from them, or whatever, and you've thrown your whole life away for it?
Try and rob them, yeah. I kind of like, well, I don't understand it, but yeah, you know, kids do all that kind of shit. But kill them.
Stupid kids do stupid things.
Shoot them
like
in the head
that.
after that. You know, Jesus.
I mean, what would the sentence have been for the sort of kidnapping and robbery charges? Probably would have got like 6 years, 7 years. For first offence. I'm guessing when I say that.
I don't know.
And now this is like, your life's gone, mate.
Yeah, he's done.
Admitted his role in the crime. He was persistent in his defense, claiming that he was not the shooter. Throughout the trial, Johnson remained stone-faced, his eyes fixed on the defense table. But a wave of emotions overwhelmed him when the decision was finally announced: the death penalty. Tears streamed down his face as he looked towards his family, wanting to give them one last wave goodbye. He appeared confused and unsure of what to do next.
Capital murder, in accordance with the laws of the state of Texas, this court hereby assesses your punishment of death.
About fair.
Yep.
Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, this is going to complete your jury service. I'm going to meet you in the jury room.
All rise.
And then it happened. In an instant, Johnson's rage consumed him, and he hurled a chair across the room. Chaos erupted as officers swiftly tackled him, and the courtroom descended into panic. The scene was heart-wrenching as Johnson's relatives wailed and begged for mercy. 2 of his family members collapsed, requiring immediate medical attention. It was an overwhelming display of raw emotions.
But the mayhem spills out into the hallway.
Amidst the turmoil, the presiding judge, Denise Collins, reached out to console those affected by this dramatic episode. She offered kind words and support to the parents of Maria Aparici, the woman whom Johnson robbed, sexually assaulted, and killed.
Wow.
It was a moment of solace amid chaos. Emotion was a constant presence in this case. Johnson's mother, Renee Johnson, passionately defended her son, declaring his innocence and putting her faith in divine intervention. Protasio Aparici Jr., the grieving father of Maria Aparici, expressed his pain and spoke of the violence inflicted upon his daughter. In a way, it could be said that Johnson got what he deserved, and his outburst was understandable. However,
didn't we react to something about this family?
I'm not 100%, to be honest. That case doesn't ring a bell for me.
It didn't until he touched on the father. And didn't we do something, or maybe I've watched something with the father doing an interview?
Didn't ring a bell for me.
Oh, okay.
This is, obviously there was extra charges that we didn't hear about that we just talked about then.
Sexual assault, he said, didn't he?
Yeah, and I mean, when they say he got what he deserved, the death penalty, and it's like, I'm not sure that cuts it for me. If he's going to go and sit in a box for 20 years waiting for it, maybe that's.
Oh, he will. He won't be imminent.
Yeah.
People don't sit on death row for just like a week.
No, it's usually decades, isn't it?
Yeah.
People sit there for. But yeah, it's what grim bastards. Some horrible people out there.
Yeah, no, nasty little shithead.
However, there are other convicts whose punishment seemed lenient and their outbursts confusing. Such is the case of Eric Penland, who is facing child endangerment charges in Ohio. Penland was convicted of violently shaking the child, causing permanent disabilities.
Eric Penland was charged with shaking his then-infant son so violently 2 years ago, the boy is now blind and permanently disabled. I was there as the verdict was read in a courtroom full of emotion.
Someone got done in Timperley for that a few years ago.
Really?
I'm fairly certain he was the stepdad, not the dad of a kid, but he shook him and they didn't make it.
There's been about 3 incidents in the past 2 weeks of cases with kids being tortured and murdered, and shaken and beaten and all kinds of stuff like that. And I get so reading that one yesterday with that guy. I was so angry, man. I felt like I had a freaking.
I think the thing is, you just got to say general population. When you get to the prison, you can't say you're scared and you go to like a solitary place or whatever. It's general population.
When kids are involved, defenseless.
Precisely. So you should be the same.
The kid who got the sentence for today, he was only 9, and he was tortured, held down in cold water in a bath. There was loads of stuff, and I was just like, oh man.
There's a lot of like, I listen to, you know, sort of a fair bit of true crime, and there's certain channels where they tell the stories of a case start to finish and things like that. And there was one the other day that was a stepmom who, again, bringing up someone else's kids, and the little boy went missing. She's on the news crying and all this sort of stuff, and she'd killed him. But I had to stop listening to it halfway through, which is rare for these cases, because they played a bit of audio of this kid upset, you know, and she was telling him off and punishing him and stuff, and it was like, it was harrowing. And that wasn't the incident, but it was something that led up to it. I switched it off, and I'm like, I can't listen to that
one. Yesterday or today, the neighbours had alerted authorities on numerous occasions that the kid was in trouble,
and they did nothing.
No.
How often does that happen?
I know. I was so like, don't know.
Yeah. Go to jail, general population, make it very public what they've done, and just say, see you later, mate.
Yeah, fend for yourself. Or they should just let. I don't know. You can't probably tell you what.
We can't say on YouTube. No, we certainly not. But general population, let everyone know what they've done, and just, you can be the kid in this situation.
When it's kids, it's just bad.
Yeah, it's awful.
The abuse occurred when the child was just 3 months old. Sharon Lawson and her husband, who have been dedicated foster parents to disabled and abused children, began caring for Penland's baby boy in 2017. The now 2-year-old victim was formally adopted by the Lawsons a few weeks before the sentencing and has since relocated out of the area, providing him with a safe and loving environment. The prosecution explained that for the rest of the boy's life,
Eric will rely on others to bathe him, dress him, change his diapers, feed him.
The lifelong consequences of Penland's actions are devastating and irreversible. Sharon Lawson also expressed the unimaginable agony they endured while caring for the baby. The child's relentless screaming, which lasted for hours on end, left them completely unprepared for the severity of the abuse.
Nothing prepared us for the screaming. Hours and hours of screaming.
It was a very disturbing case indeed. Nevertheless, Penland insisted that he was innocent.
I've been falsely accused. I've been wrongfully convicted.
If you think that Penland would be remorseful or that his actions were horrible, you'll be shocked by his behavior in court. Throughout the entire legal process, Penland showed no remorse. Prosecutors also highlighted Penland's prior criminal record, including robbery convictions and a federal firearms charge. Due to his previous offenses, mandatory prison time was inevitable in this case, and the prosecution requested the maximum sentence.
I would submit to the court that this entire record is absolutely devoid of any remorse by the defendant.
And the maximum sentence he got. Penland was sentenced to 11 years in prison. Prosecutors emphasized that Penland wasn't facing more severe charges because the baby had miraculously survived his injuries. After Penland heard that he would spend the next decade in prison, he displayed his frustration and disbelief by bowing his head, shaking it, and finally unleashing an outburst of profanity, proclaiming his innocence.
Man. I didn't do anything wrong, man.
If you thought these explosions in court were shocking, you need to see this video of serial killers explaining why.
Jesus.
Yeah.
He got off very light there. He should have kept his mouth shut.
11 years.
11 years for what he's done, for how horrific that sounded, then
it's not enough.
It's nowhere near. Absolutely nowhere near.
Like I say, I've seen sentencing in the USA and I've gone like, wow, that's impressive.
Yeah.
They're not impressive sentencing for something that's so gruesome.
I think Ali Sadiq, it was, the comedian, he was on Rogan the other day talking about it, and he was saying that in some cases in Texas, sentencing's too harsh because there's a mandatory minimum of, I want to say, like 35 years for certain crimes, but it's like some of them are like, I think they all involve having a weapon, right. But you've I'd be butchering it if I pretended to sort of be paraphrasing massively, but he was saying actually a lot of kids are getting convicted and doing 35 years minimum for things they shouldn't. But I do agree that their sentencing seems to be a lot more in line with the crimes than it does over here.
We've got some duff ones over here that happens and you think, what? You see something like, it proper angers me.
Yeah. Anything to do with kids. Like, there should be mandatory minimum sentences for, people who kill cops, people who kill kids, things like that, and it should be.
Even assault, just general assault of children, anyone, minors or police. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
But it doesn't happen. Not over here anyway.
It doesn't, but it's good to see these people getting their just desserts, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, 40 years for that guy was That was a good one.
Yeah. I like the 22 that went up to 28 or whatever it was. Yeah. Even if it did go down, it was a little...
20 years, wasn't it? Sorry, 20 years he got. 22 years, yeah.
22
years,
and then yeah,
nice. Like I say, a long time. But anyway, hope you guys enjoyed that. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll catch you on the next one.
Cheers, guys.
Cheers.